Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be talking about Dr. Mundo, who is a champ who got quite heavily changed this patch. It ended up benefiting him a lot more in low elo, and he is really strong at the moment. Probably worth playing almost every single game, kind of strong. I definitely recommend playing him as a escape tool of low elo. He is super overwhelming. Moving his R bonus AD to his E has actually resulted in him being considerably stronger. His wave clear's better, his overall damage is more consistent, he's not reliant on R as much anymore. These, the changes in general looked like a pretty big nerf on paper. There was a lot of just reductions in base stats. His passive was being hit pretty hard with the canister heal being less. The max health per second was going down early, and Mundo was always a pretty early game skewed champion, which made him pretty strong, like, in mid-elo. He was a pretty mid-elo champ. You could play him in low elo pretty successfully, but he was kind of falling higher up, where people understood how to play against him and build quickly against him. He is now even more low elo skewed. He is very weak to things like Divine Sundara, Bork, stuff like this. It's actually kind of nuts how strong this champion is. So I played a game earlier. Sorry for the flashbang. And yeah, but Yasuo did 22k damage with his Bork. It's your health is your damage, and when someone can build an anti-health item, it hurts you quite badly. So I'm going to talk about him, how to build him, and why he is so strong in low elo at the moment. So if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Where am I going? I am going to items, and we are going to go here. So, first of all, almost every single game, it's hard still. There's very few other first items on Mundo at the moment, and this is by far the best. It basically amps his damage, his R healing, and his W healing in a way, because you're getting more value out of taking more damage, to the point where you need this item first. There is really no other choice. For boots, you are going to want to run Swifties. Swifties are by far Mundo's best boots. Resists are... he doesn't need resistance boots. The tenacity boots are nice into comps where you are being perma-locked in CC, and you are the main source of damage, and you want to really be able... You just need to be able to move to do damage. Then Mercs are a choice. It's very unlikely you are ever going to run... Tab Eyes, places steel caps. They are by far his worst worst boot option out of the viable options. He can't really. I wouldn't recommend Lucidities, but even Lucidities are probably better than. They're probably better than Marks as well. It's another cheap alternative to Swifties if you do not need the Swifties catch potential, and you'd rather have an E on the shorter cooldown or your Q on the shorter cooldown, something like that. Second item is probably always going to be Titanic as well. There are very few second items as strong as Titanic. It synergizes well with his kit. It gives him really good wave clear to farm more gold, to push the wave in quicker, to siege turrets when you're running Demolish. So overall, Titanic is probably his best second option. I don't really think you're going to go anything other than Titanic. Sunfire, however, can also be put there. Sunfire is a pretty good second item after the buffs. It's now in line of cost with Thornmail and whatever the other Warden's mail item is. It is Frozen Heart. Yeah. It puts it in line of cost with these two, which is good for the item. It's a really good stat stick item. Nice damage aura. It's a pretty good item. You can run in second slot as well, or third, which is what I'm going to talk about now. So things like spirits, pretty good as a third slot item. I'll run them in order here. So yeah, it's always going to be Heartsteel first, and then you would go your boots, you'd go Titanic, and then Sunfire Spirits, depending on matchup, the game state. If you're running into double AD, you're running into 3 AD champs, and you usually want to go Sunfires. Unless you need the spirits, maybe you're against like a Brand and a LeBlanc, then spirits might not be a bad second option if the enemy jungle is also AP, something like an Eve maybe. Into multiple burn champs, if they're going like Leandries, then of course you have Force of Nature as one of your options. I wouldn't recommend building this item over Spirits. Spirits is going to be better because it synergizes strong. It has more synergization with your kit. Something like Randuins can be built as a anti-crit option. You're rarely going to build Randuins though. In order, this is probably going to be like a last or second to last item. It's more of if you're against a Yasuo, Yone, or a close range crit champ, or a marksman who is very fed, and then there's maybe 2 crit champs, something like that. Other options are Sterks, not as good as it used to be on Mundo. I wouldn't recommend building this item every game anymore. It synergizes well with Spirits because you get more shielding out of it. It has Mundo's base AD going down means that this item is not really an option until either 4th or 5th. So I wouldn't recommend building it until either 4th or 5th. Gargoyles is really strong on Mundo. Mundo's big problem right now is he doesn't have a lot of resist, so Gargoyles is really strong on him. You can build this as a 5th item, something like Heartsteel, Titanic, Sunfire Spirits. Gargoyles is probably your main core build. I don't really see any other build like competing with this. Obviously, you have Anathemas for single carry options. Where is he? Item. It is a 2,600 gold plus item. Anathemas chains. Well, I can't find it. I'm either blind or just an idiot. No, I spelled it correctly. Okay, it's a 2,600 gold. Yeah, you can use this as a... You used to be able to run this first item. I wouldn't recommend that anymore. You want to be able to get your Heartsteel charges. But there is always the ability to run Anathemas. I would run it somewhere like around here as an option. This is going to be your standard core, but Anathemas, Turbo is also an option. Deadmans. These are like you need to be able to catch people options and slow people, but... You'd rarely go these anything other than last. They're probably better than Randuins, but it's unlikely you're going to build them anything other than as one of these last twos. Death Stance, there might be a possibility. With high AD, Death Stance becomes an opportunity, like an item with opportunity. It doesn't have health, which isn't great, but because you heal so much with the item through your AD and the amount of AD you have, there is a possibility Death Stance, like you can run this as a more offensive option alongside Spirits. I don't think you will, but there is always a chance, so I'll put it here. But those are the main... But it's almost always going to be Heartsteel into Titanic, Sunfire Spirits, Gargoyles as probably your main 3. Sterks is an option if you're going Spirits and you don't need Gargoyles or you don't need Sunfires. Thornmail is an item I've missed here, but if you're against strong healing and you want to run it alongside Sunfires because they have a lot of AD, it's also an option. So Mundo has a good amount of flexibility, but yeah, standard core, Heartsteel into Titanic. So let's talk about runes. Runes are going to be pretty standard. These are going to be your core runes. You flex depending on whatever your top laner is. It's a case of... Yeah, it's mainly a case of what primary damage type enemy laner is. You're not as strong early as you used to be, so you have to be kind of careful with that. Your level 6 isn't as impactful as before. You definitely need to get full points in E, but you're still Q max, but definitely getting 3, 4, 5 points in E. That's where your power really comes in, getting those Heartsteel procs. It might be a case of running something like Eyeball Ingenious or Taste of Blood Ingenious if you need more healing early. It'll probably be Cheap Shot just to amp your damage slightly. Land a Cleaver, hit them once, you're doing more damage, and you'll get the proc. So that is a possibility. But most of the time, it's going to be Magical Footwear, Approach Velocity. Approach Velocity gives you gap close on your cleavers when you slow them. Magical Footwear is really good for, it's free 300 gold. It allows you to rush Heartsteel, and then by the time you finish Heartsteel, you'll be able to get your Magical Footwear, and that will give you the, and then you'll be able to just go straight into Swifties and Titanic, which is your spike. So, talking about dynamics, matchup dynamics, and where he's strong, Mundo is probably the best champ in the game at the moment to go from Iron to Plat, and maybe even Iron all the way to Diamond. He is really oppressive. He does a lot of damage. His E is really a high. His E does a lot of damage, allows him to do really good wave clear. Heartsteel epochs can one-shot people quite literally. Your squishies, your Caitlyn's, your Senna's can be popped so quickly. He's the W change makes him very Assassins have a harder time killing him if you time it correctly. Even if you don't time it correctly, it's still a pretty good tool. So assassins will still struggle to kill you, and assassins really can't afford to go for you because you're so tanky and you have so much health. Other things are that his R heals him a lot more than it used to, which is really nice. Provides him a lot more of a safety net rather than a damage and just all-in potential. It does remove a lot of his all-in potential, but yeah, it definitely pushes him more towards the late game. Plus the rank 3 where you get 5% amp on both. So if you're surrounded by 5 enemies, you get a 25% amp on both the bonus health you gain when you pop it and the healing you get when you pop it, which is pretty huge. So Mundo, definitely good at the moment. There is a chance Mundo will get hotfix. I presume he will. I hope he doesn't. I think it's nice being able to like play a tank and have the carry potential, but Mundo is too strong at the moment. He's too high in stats. I didn't think his stats would be this elevated compared to what he used to be, but he'll probably see a decrease in maybe his R healing or his E ratio. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that's the main thing. Divine Sundra and Bork definitely get these items into him. He's really weak into high percentage health items, which can tear him apart. So yeah, Mundo will struggle diamond higher because of this, but even at the moment with his current strength, he can probably work all the way up to Masters and GM possibly. So definitely play Mundo if you need the LP. I'm being invited to a game by someone I don't know. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.